Title of this talk, I find it kind of funny in a way. First of all, those of you who do not publish magazines, none of us publish magazines anymore. We'll get to that in a bit. And second of all, our goal should not to be online powerhouses, which to me is like a nauseating idea. It's like how to turn this loaf of bread into something with no nutrients and content. So I don't really want you to become online powerhouses, but I do want you to be awesome in your own right. Okay, this is the kind of slide that I will never show you again. This is the kind of slide that if you see this slide at a conference presentation, you should probably just leave. Among the incredibly annoying things about it, of course, is the assumption that everything is screen-based, that consumers simply move from their TV to their tablet to their phone, and that the ultimate goal of all life is to intervene in their movement through screens to get them to online shop. This is generally the kind of rhetoric that anyone who does anything with sort of online strategy, that's basically what they feel like. That's what they say. You know, they might not come out and say it, but that's basically what they believe and want you to believe. I don't believe any of that. I think it's all pretty much a bunch of crap. So what do I believe? Well, unfortunately, we can't deny that Canadians love to go online. They spend a lot of time online. Everyone's got a mobile phone. Everyone is slowly becoming more and more brain dead by staring at their mobile phone. 9.9 hours connected to technology. Unfortunately, these things are happening. Tablet and smartphones, most used to access online content daily. Bleh, who cares? Time on apps increasing every year. Apps suck, who cares? 9% of magazine readers report having bought an electronic edition. 14% say they'll buy next year. Ooh, electronic editions. Let's devote our entire budgets to something that 9% of people say they maybe will buy. 90% of consumers report they prefer the print mag to the online edition. That is a statistic of great interest to us. In fact, people want to read your print magazines. Print is on the comeback. Electronic editions are, at best, as we see here, a complement to the print magazine. And, you know, I'd say, for the most part, nobody cares about your electronic edition. And that's just the reality. That's what has had us shaken out over the last 10 years of nonsense and people throwing money at tablet this and app that. What is shaken out is that people want to subscribe to your magazine, have it mailed to their house, and read it at their leisure, on their phone, not on their tablet. That still remains the reality. So don't get all excited. Don't think there's like one magic bullet that you need to put in your arsenal and you're going to fire it through the heart of your audience. And it's going to, you know, that metaphor has gone nowhere. And I'm proud of it. It's going nowhere, just like the electronic edition is going nowhere. Oh, baby. However, despite all this, despite my debunking of many notions, I cannot debunk the notion that people stare at their phones a lot and that you are no longer a magazine publisher. What do you publish then? These are the things that you are publishing. You are publishing a newsletter, maybe it's monthly or bi-monthly or weekly. You are publishing a social media stream. You're probably on Facebook, you're probably on Twitter, you might be on Instagram, you might be on some other lame-ass social media stream thinking that you're making an incredible difference when you're probably not. You probably have a blog, and by a blog I mean a stream of content on your website that somebody has to put up, organize, run. You probably have a digital edition. By a digital edition is the magazine in a format that people can get on their desktop, on an app, on a phone, on a tablet, so on and so forth. And you have a print magazine. You might have some other stuff too, but you almost all do these things. So within that context, you can't really say that you're a magazine anymore. You're a brand, you're a company that pushes out a certain kind of content, all branded together under the title of whatever your magazine may be. So you have to think of yourself in that context, as sickening as it may be, and as far from what you wanted to be when you started a magazine. Nonetheless, we have to make some concessions to the many, many horrors and indignities of modern life, and this is one of them. You are a brand. You do all these things, you are a brand, you might not actually know why you are publishing these things. And this is the big question, that before you can capitalize on any kind of strategy, you have to kind of face the fact that you are doing a lot of things without thinking deeply about them. So I want to know what you're publishing, and I want to know why you are publishing it. So I'm going to point to you, and I'm going to ask you a question about some aspect of your publishing world, and let's hear what you have to say. Okay, so you have a blog to disseminate your editorial content, basically. God, now I have to write the word disseminate. I don't know. I stopped spelling once they introduced spell check. I told you it was making us stupider. Disseminate editorial, email, newsletter, disseminate editorial. Okay, so this is very, very interesting. We have heard about engagement, which of course means nothing. We've heard about fun, also really doesn't mean a whole lot. We have heard about getting our editorial out into the world. Stunningly, none of you have said the only things that really matter. You know what the only thing that really matters is? What is the purpose of all this activity? All this churning, digital bytes and engagement and tracking and everything else. What? Sales, thank you. Nobody says it. It's like this sort of like, it's just supposed to happen by accident. Oh, please, please, they'll read my nonsense, they'll feel my fun, and then they'll go and give me money. Doesn't happen, okay? That's why most of you are not really making much money on this stuff. In fact, you're probably losing money. If you don't go in with a strategy that says, what is my ultimate goal? What are my goals? What are my priorities? Let's develop a cohesive strategy. Wow, how could that slide be there? It was like I knew what was going to happen in this room. Incredible. What's my primary goal? Okay, let's assume that you do have a primary goal, and after you leave this room today, hopefully you will have a primary goal. And probably, for most people, that primary goal, that main goal, the reason that you are producing this frenzy of activity is, of course, making money, driving sales, right? So, now, that alone doesn't necessarily solve our problems, because as we just heard, there are many different sources of money. There's a literary contest that I want to drive people to enter, and they have to pay to enter the contest, right? There are subscription sales, there's contest money, there's single issue sales, there's advertising. You want to bring more eyeballs so that you can sell ads. There's advertising in print. There's driving audience to events. There's receiving or increasing grants. These are just some of the making money things. So even if you say, as I hope you do and will say in the future, what is the reason that I have all this stuff? It's not to engage, it's to make some cash, right? So that you can keep publishing and keep doing what you love. Even if you say that, you still need to make some choices, right? You can't have all of your online engagement outlets all servicing the same things in the same way. and just sort of like, hoping that they will achieve all of these goals. You need to prioritize. You need to pick a few things that you think will do really well in your milieu, in the community that you work in. Once you do choose those priorities, then you have to test them and see if you're right. If you're not right, then you're going to pick some other things on this list. You can, of course, have secondary goals. Maybe some of those channels that you use can't accomplish any monetary goals. Then you can at least pathetically attempt to defend them by saying, but they increase awareness, there's brand recognition, we're establishing community. All those things are really nice. They're all touching. In some cases, they might even be redeeming reasons to do some of this stuff, which again, remember, so much revolves around generating high-quality content for multi-billion-dollar corporations that don't care if you live or die. So if you're going to do this stuff, find out what your priorities are and figure out through testing if you're advancing those priorities, okay? Money should be the #1 priority. Why? Because you need money to survive as publishers, and 2, because other people are making money off of this stuff off of your back, so you better be making some money too. Otherwise, I'm just sorry for you. I'm sorry to even look at you and hear your stories. I want you to be passionate about your ability to generate money. If you don't ask, you don't get. You have to ask people, give me money. But you have to provide quality for them to give you that money. Okay, so the very first thing that you need to know in terms of establishing your goals, setting a framework for each one of these different ways that you interact with your readers is where are they coming from, right? Where do these people come from? They come to our website from our Facebook page. They go from our website to our Facebook page. They go from our website to other people's Facebook page and then to our Facebook page. And then, so you get this question of what is it that you're trying to achieve? What are you actually achieving through all this, again, frenzy of digital nonsense? In a lot of cases, you're not achieving much. You have all these different points where they enter your world, and then they circle around your world, and they go where? They go nowhere. You have contributed to Mark Zuckerberg's bullshit world. You've added some likes to his world, and who cares? It's not going to do anything for you. You need to be very, very concrete on 2 things. 1, where do people come to your website from? How do they get to your website? And the other is your newsletter. What happens when you send that newsletter out? If you don't have a newsletter, in a way I feel sorry for you. You need to have a newsletter. Don't do Twitter, don't do Facebook, don't do a blog. None of those things are as important as having a newsletter, preferably weekly, bi-weekly, monthly at the minimum, okay? And I'll tell you why. Because you need to have people in your world, right? It doesn't matter how many people like you on Twitter. They're not in your world. It doesn't matter how many Facebook friends or whatever stupid shit you want to call it. It doesn't matter. They're not yours. Mark Zuckerberg could decide tomorrow that he really doesn't like women riding mountain bikes, and he would press a little button and your account would disappear. And then you would say, Marky, bring my account back. And he would say, women should not ride mountain bikes. And you can complain all you want, but in the 10,000 little words written when you started your Facebook account, it basically says that Mark Zuckerberg can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. So those are not your things. Those are generating content for Mark Zuckerberg. You need to collect emails and build up your own lists. And your own lists do not drive people to Facebook, to Twitter, to weird blogs that are not on your website. They drive people to where you want them to go. Where you want them to go, that's another question we're going to get to very soon. So, you need analytics, right? I hate analytics. Anyone who has even the slightest brain should hate analytics. Analytics are like slowly suffocating in a coal mine that you shouldn't even be in because all the coal was shoveled out in like 1820. Nonetheless, you still have to do it. You have to feel the pain, okay? The pain doesn't have to be immense. I have a very, very small magazine, and yet we managed to collect analytics. Everyone who has a website can set up Google Analytics on that website. All of this information then comes from Google Analytics, which is like one of those weird things that is designed to make it seem like you have to hire someone to tell you what it means, but you don't. You just have to keep Googling, help me find how many people come to my website. Right? This is the bare minimum information that you should be collecting every week. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time, right? Otherwise, it's like you wouldn't print a magazine and just start throwing it around to people, you know, out of a building and being like, I don't know how many people caught it. I don't know what they did with it. I just threw it out of a building. It's the same thing with your website that you're putting so much energy into, but you might not even know how many people come to it. This is how we do it. We track the things that we think are the most relevant for us. For you, you might track other things, but what's really important is trying to get a sense of who comes to your website, where do they come from, and once they get to your website, what are they clicking on so you know what to put your energy on. The week by week, you can't freak out about it. You look at larger patterns, right? That's why you do it every week, so that after couple of months, you can look and say, these are the larger patterns. Okay, so now we're going to move. We've talked about basically setting some goals and some of the minimum information that you need to set those goals. Let's say your goal, you've identified your main goal. Your main goal that you have identified is to increase subscriptions, okay? I'm not saying that's the right goal for all of you. I'm just saying as a case study, that's the main goal that got you excited. The way I see it, you've got to build the pyramid, you've got to climb the ladder. And when I was doing this, I couldn't decide which cliched, lame metaphor I would go with, so I went with both. That's the kind of guy I am. But basically, you have tiers of engagement, and you set your goal. If your goal is to increase subscriptions, your goal is to move people up the rungs of the ladder, right? Your goal is not to get them from the Facebook to the website so they can go from the website to the Facebook page, so they can go from the website to the Facebook, and then the Twitter, right? No, you have one goal. That goal is to get them to the top, to subscribe, and even after they've subscribed, to donate because they love you so much. So you have this kind of positioning, right? They read you on social media. What is your goal in this context? Your goal is to get them off social media as soon as possible and going to your website or your blog, right? It's the simplest thing that they can do. It is the simplest interaction. All they have to do is click. You're not asking them for anything, right? And you see that Facebook is a huge driver to websites, right? So why would you ever drive someone from your website to Facebook? That makes no sense at all. And yet, so many times I'll go to a website, and the first thing I'll see is, follow us on Facebook. Why? What possible reason could you want them to follow you on Facebook if they're on your website, right? And that's why you want a newsletter, right? Because you do want them to follow you, just not on Facebook. You want them to follow you through email. You want their email. So when they get to your website, assuming that they're not ready to subscribe, you do want to give them a call to action. You want to ask them to do something, right? If you don't ask them, guess what? You don't get anything. You don't ask, you don't get, right? So you ask them, will you please join our newsletter? Maybe it takes 5 or 6 tries. You get some people. Now you've got them on your newsletter, Now you want to increase their engagement with your brand. You maybe are going to invite them to an event, maybe an online event. You're maybe going to send them a little free thing. You're going to point them to a cool video. You're going to do all these things to keep them interested. And then eventually, sooner rather than later, you're going to hit them with the ask. And the ask is going to be in the newsletter. The ask is going to be on your website. The ask is going to be your holiday sale. The ask is going to be special just for you, 10% off to all my Facebook friends. You don't know if they're a Facebook friend or not. You don't care. It doesn't matter. As long as they think that they are feeling some specialness and you're signing them up, okay? Move them up the pyramid. Get them out of the social. Get them out of all that wasted time and energy. The only reason that you have anything there is to drive them to your website. Why do you have a website? I'll tell you why you have a website. To monetize, to sell subscriptions, whether those are digital subscriptions, whether those are print subscriptions, whether you are selling t-shirts, whatever it is, ultimately, that's what you have, right? That's what you have your website for. For this to succeed, for your ladder to succeed, you have to keep pushing people up it, because a lot of people fall off the ladder, right? It's like AA or something. You know, they don't make it past the second rung. You want to get them addicted to your publication. So first of all, you have to expand that pool of contacts, right? So you are constantly publishing on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. You're constantly updating your website so that more things catch on native search. What you're not doing is worrying a lot about it, right? You're not spending a lot of time going, geez, is this the best post for my Facebook? Is this the right personality for my Twitter? Who cares? Don't waste your time. You're pushing them up the ladder. Now, all of those things, you expand your pool of contents, you push them up, you get them onto your website, which hopefully gets them onto your newsletter. Your newsletter pushes them back to the website, and you create a lovely circle, a harmonious circle of where they get used to, oh, here's the Broken Pencil Weekly newsletter. I'm going to click on a few things because there's some good stuff to read. Cool. This goes on for a while until something disrupts their happiness, and that something is the ask. The ask for money, the ask to go to an event, the ask to connect more deeply with this brand that they clearly are enjoying. Content is king. Once they get to that newsletter, once they get to that website, there's got to be good stuff on it, right? It can't just be a bunch of trash. Facebook, Twitter, any social media, it can be complete trash. I don't care what's on it. But once they get to your site, that represents your brand. Broken Pencil, we have 1,000 to 2,000 people a week coming to Broken Pencil, right? How many people a week are buying a copy of Broken Pencil magazine? Like maybe like one, you know? like when you think about it, your website is an unbelievable portal. You do those numbers, 1,000, 2,000 a week, even if it's the low number, 1,000 a week, that's 4,000 people a month. Ultimately, 50,000 people a year coming to Broken Pencil. That's a lot more people than buy the magazine, I can tell you that much, in a whole year. So your website is your portal. You have to have good content. It can't just be tossed out garbage. Same with your newsletter. People have to like it and want it. They want to engage with it. You're representing your brand. Those things are probably more important in some ways than your magazine, because by the time they get to actually buying your magazine, they're already committed to your brand. That doesn't mean your magazine should be bad. It shouldn't. It should be awesome. But in some sad, perverted way, you know, this is the world we live in, where your website and your e-newsletter are the front. They're what people see first and what you want to make them love. And content is king and queen. You've got to represent who you are and what you are. And you have to make them want more. You have to make them want the whole package. So here, this is like one of these stupid charts that you can barely even read, I see. But it basically says that there are rungs of interaction, there are priorities of interaction, and that people who are coming by accident, people who are coming from social, that blue dot there is social, these people are the least likely people to eventually make it to the holy grail of purchase, right? So then you've got direct, right? Someone who types in brokenpencil.com and goes to my website, they know what they want, and they're more likely to make that purchase. Organic search, right? Someone who is searching for related content to your publication, again, they're more interested. So you can see from this basically that certain kinds of interaction have very little value, and you want to deepen those interactions and focus on the interactions that are going to have more value. Engage to build the ladder, right? We're talking about sucking people up. So we look at the Glass Buffalo magazine Facebook page. This is basically like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Right? Your Facebook page should not look like this. It's got an ugly header, it's got no likes, it's got nothing of interest on it. Bam, I look at that and I'm out, right? You want bright, you want tons of stuff. You know, you should be able to recruit enough people that you can break the 300 mark on your Facebook page so that others are like, oh, okay, other people liked it, now I will like it. Because we are basically cave people, right? We're basically just like, if everyone thinks this is good, this is good. That's basically it. Okay, so let's look at some other examples of social. So they've got 1,500 likes. You can see that's a nice banner they've got up there. That's their new issue. It's got to look good and lively. Otherwise, you're not going to be driving the traffic. That's what we want to see. Lots of pictures, lots of pointing out to the community, lots of things that kind of suggest who you are and what you're about, and lots of things that also suggest that you're not like spending hours and hours wasting your time on Twitter. Now you've got some decent social media going. What is the most important page on your website? What is the thing that most people will click on the most times if they're genuinely interested in what you do? Submit? No. About. Whoa, Hal's fancy graphic. Look at that. Look at the way I flew in there. Okay, the most important page on your website is the about. Some websites that are like literary, yes, submit. But submit is basically the same as about in that context, that they want to know about your magazine. And what do they want to know about primarily? How they can submit. Filling station in Calgary. This is what you want on your about page, right? You want, where are we? What are we about? Right? What? What's the history? You know, some of this stuff is useful, some of it isn't. This isn't like the greatest about page ever. It's okay, right? I like the Q&A thing. I like the fact that it's easy to find the address. It's easy to find out what they're all about. History, who cares? How is it published? Who cares? Funding, who cares? Mandate, that's interesting. Bring that up to the top, right? So it's people want to know what's in your magazine, what you believe in, and how they can get involved, right? The ask. That's what's missing from this page is the ask. What's the ask? The ask is subscribe, of course, always. What if they don't want to subscribe? What if they're not ready to subscribe? Newsletter. There we go. Always, always. They always have to be asked to subscribe, and they always have to be asked to be part of your newsletter. Obviously, your main page matters too. You know, we're not saying that it doesn't matter what happens when you go to your main page. So this is the main page of this magazine called FREEFALL. That's out of Alberta. It's a small area magazine. I would give this a D-. This is a pretty terrible homepage. Why? First of all, there's nothing on it that I feel like clicking. There's nothing that I want to read on the page. People don't want to go to the menu. People want to know what's the most exciting thing, right? you've got your tweets. Don't put your tweets on the main page. Who cares about your tweets? If people follow you on Twitter, that achieves nothing. We've already covered that. Like I say, the huge follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Who cares? Sign up for our newsletter, subscribe. Yes, those are things that I want to see. You know, this is a big picture of the cover of the issue. I'm going to look at that, and then I'm going to leave, basically, with this website. Pretty hurting. Your main page matters, right? What do you want on your main page? You want good content, relevant content, and that could be anything, right? Articles, stories, comics, videos. It doesn't matter what it is as long as it's relevant to your brand and it's going to excite the people who have come to learn more about your brand. You want something good that they can read, and you want the ask, right? Subscribe, sign up for our newsletter. That should be at least in 2 or 3 prominent places. On the Broken Pencil page, every single page, at the bottom of every single page, it says sign up for our newsletter. Why not? It's like takes 5 minutes of HTML to produce that effect. Never, ever have them go to a page where they don't have 2 places where they can sign up for your newsletter. Subscribe. Obviously, you always want to show a copy of your most recent issue on your homepage, but it shouldn't be the whole thing because that's just like desperate. It's like that's all we've got going, right? It should be a nice cover, good size. They can click if they want to enlarge it, and of course, right under that, it should say subscribe. What's the main goal of our organization? In this case study, the main goal is to get people to subscribe to our amazing magazine. Here's our amazing magazine. Here's some stuff that's in our amazing magazine that's related to our amazing magazine. And here's a button where you can subscribe to our amazing magazine. Converting to subscribers, sometimes you can skip a few rungs, and you should keep trying, right? So every week on Twitter and Facebook, you should put something out there that says, hey, have you signed up to our e-newsletter yet? Don't miss the excitement. Every week you should put that out. Why not? Why wouldn't you? Then, obviously, sometimes you can skip some rungs by putting special offers, 24-hour sales, gifts, tie-ins, Halloween. It's Halloween! Everyone should, ride bikes and get married and have lifestyle, whatever. Most of the time that stuff won't work. But since you're on Facebook and you need to generate nonsense content 24 hours a day anyway, do it. You never know. But more concretely, we're going to go into another case study. Free sample issue scheme. You've got them off of your social media. They're coming to your website. They're signing up for your newsletter. Now, you got to get them to subscribe, right? The biggest ask of all, to give you money. Here's one scheme. Here's a case study called the free sample issue scheme. So you're going to offer a free issue as they move up the ladder. That will help you convert them to subscribers. So here's Walrus, 2 free sample copies. It's fast, secure, and easy. They sign up. They get their 2 sample copies. If I like it, I'll pay. If I don't like it, I won't pay. This is something that you could put on your website. It could be on your homepage. It could be on your About page. Get a free trial issue, sample issue, whatever you want to call it, right? Now, this is a free issue, but don't do what this magazine is doing on spec. Don't give it away. Don't have a site where it's like, we're giving away an old issue. Here you go. Download the PDF. Why would you do that? What do you get out of that? Oh, well, they get to read it, and then if they like it, they're going to subscribe? No. The cave mentality does not work like that, right? If I see a delicious tree full of fruit and I start eating it, and then you come over and you're like, you got to pay for that fruit. I'm like, I already ate a bunch, whatever. I'll see you later, right? Like, we're not going to do it. This is the failed premise of the early days of the internet, that if we give them enough free stuff, they will like us so much that they'll start paying for it. When did that ever make sense? Never. It never made sense. It never happened. Never give anything away for free. So when you give away that free sample issue, you're getting something for it. What are you getting? Their email and their address, right? Get that contact information. Always, always, always. And then, of course, you're going to go back to them and you're going to say, hey, how'd you like that free issue? Let's talk. Here's the Broken Pencil About page. Now, we know that a lot of people go to our About page, so why not have a really, really hard to resist ask on that About page? What would that ask be? Let's see. Okay, about Broken Pencil, little quote from the Toronto Star, very short paragraph about what we do. What is this? Get a free sample issue? That's hard to pass up. I think I'll click right there and get a free sample issue. You know, boom, I'm in. So then we go right there. You can see free, free, free. How many times does it say free? Like 10. Add to cart, $0. Beautiful. People do it a lot. Now, if they are overseas or in the US, you send them the digital edition, so you're not spending any money. You're not sending these out as they come. You're only sending them out as part of a subscription mailing. It's free. They'll wait. Right? You would never send these first class or anything like that. Obviously, once that happens, you make sure you wait until they have received the free issue, and then you treat them like a renewal, right? With a series of emails and letters where you're like, hello, how'd you like your free issue? Here's an amazing deal just for people who ordered the free issue. I don't have a lot of time left, but I just want to quickly say another thing about websites and data collection. I hate giving away things for free, as you might have figured out by now. I hate providing content to people when they should be paying for it. I basically hate the entire edifice of modern digital economy, which is a false, crumbling nothingness, where we give everything away for free. Broken Pencil recently has instituted a membership model. So we are now saying to people who come to the Broken Pencil website, thanks for being here. You can read 2 things for free. After that, you got to become a member. You can be a paid member and get a subscription and all kinds of other amazing benefits, or you can be a free member and get 5 reads a month, our newsletter, and that's what you get. You don't like it, you got to pay. We installed what's called a leaky paywall, which gives people a certain amount of access, depending on their tier, if they're free and registered, or if they are different levels of paying customer. I want to encourage everyone to start thinking about not giving away anything for free, because their coordinates have a value, who they are, their address, their email, all of that has a value, and they need to start getting used to giving value for value. So that's what we're moving to with Broken Pencil. We have put this in. We haven't fully implemented the membership model yet, where we're going to be offering all these like special incentives and opportunities to gather and all this kinds of stuff. But we have put in the paywall, and what's really interesting is that we're not really seeing a significant decrease in the amount of people coming to bp.com. In fact, the same number are still coming, and they're still coming, going, I don't know what I'm doing here, and leaving, except for those people who are interested. And now, instead of just being there, getting our free content and leaving, they are having to register in order to enjoy that free content. There are other ways to kind of explore this. There's membership, there's the idea of kind of being a reader plus, there's what Canadian Art does, where they sort of call it as a donor. If you donate $60, you get all these things. If you donate $120, you get all these. all the second tier, and it's basically a membership kind of model as well. The more money that you donate, the more access, the more membership in the Canadian art community you are buying, essentially. This is where we are going as an industry. This is where we're moving, driving people to our websites. When they get to our websites, being really focused with our goals. And our goal isn't to give things away for free. Our goal isn't to become an online powerhouse. Our goal is to achieve maximum readership and be paid for that readership. I think it depends on your organization and on your goals. So again, it comes back to having the knowledge. Like, I know that our open rate is, you know, it's actually well above industry standards from some things. You know, like if whatever Zellers still exist. Why would I say Zellers? You know, Canadian Tire sends out a thing. Its open rate is going to be like 1% or less, and its click-through rate will be, you know, 0.002. But we see a value in it because we do a whole lot of different things, and a lot of the people who sign up for our thing are not interested in a specific kind of content. They're only interested in our short story contest, or they're only interested in our Canzine festivals or our parties. So it's very hard. We don't have the manpower to make that many lists and manage that many lists. So we have a very large list, and we put them all in there, and we don't call them that much. I have come up with some very interesting strategies for paying almost nothing to send that list out, which I'm happy to share later. We can talk about it after. But there are a lot of different ways to send to 20,000 people a week and pay peanuts. So, you know, if you're with Eye Contact or, you know, any of the sort of really conventional email newsletter lists, they will slaughter you with that kind of, with what we're doing, but there are lots of places you can be that won't. I think it's interesting because I think that in a way you want people to unsubscribe. Like for me, if someone can't deal with getting one email a week from my organization, then they can leave and I'm happy. Goodbye, I don't need you. What do you know? I think it's a matter of quality. I know that I'm giving them quality in my newsletter. I know that I'm giving them zine reviews, book reviews, calls for submission. I'm giving them material that nobody else in the world is giving to them, to their inbox. So if they don't want to receive it, they can unsubscribe and not receive it. So you can ask yourself then, are you giving them quality? Are you giving them what they want? And if you're not giving them what you want, maybe that's why they're unsubscribing rather than it's because they're getting it too often. Like once a month, to me, is too little. You have to remember, again, our numbers here. We're looking at 12,000 people, 8% are opening it, very low numbers. So I believe, and I've sort of tracked this a little bit, different people open it every week, not the same people. Yes, there are a small core group of people who read it every week. Other than that, it's like people who are just like, I usually always delete this, but this time, calls for submission, sex, zine, robots, I'm going to open it. So different people open it every week. You got to test it. We have some good ideas of what increases our open rates. Unfortunately, my editors don't believe, you know, that it's a good idea to put sex in every subject line, like I encourage them to, and so on and so forth. So you know, sometimes we stick to actual content, and our open rates go down, and I complain. But you know, what are you going to do? It doesn't matter. It's all a bunch of nonsense. I mean, again, it's like there people will get up here and they will, show you 10,000 charts on this, that, and the other, and Monday is share day, and Tuesday is just put tons of stuff out there. Share, just whenever I open my Facebook, I want your stuff, and you want me to see your stuff. Sure, share stuff. Be generous. If you're like, love that article in Geist today, Geist is going to be like, love that article in Wedding whatever today. We share, we support as much as possible because it's all just about seeing our brand in your stream, right? It doesn't, and sharing is great because it's the fastest way to just generate more content. So it's like constant sharing. If you're bored, share. If you're not bored, share. Post something. I just had a thought. Whatever, link to it. It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's the way the Walrus does it too. Broken Pencil doesn't do it that way because our readers are younger, angrier, way more suspicious, and that would just piss them off. So, obviously you have to decide what your audience is going to be accepting of, and then you decide how much you can get away with, basically. But the free issue is a great way to add another rung to the ladder and get them. And even if you don't convert them to a subscriber, a lot of people will order the free issue who would never have otherwise signed up to be on your newsletter list or done anything else. So you at least get that from them. You have their name, you have their email, they may come to an event, they may be interested in something else. So it's all about getting that data. Generally, I know that I said some incredibly negative things about social media, and I mean all those things. So when we think about kind of the idea that the internet is a social place, which is a lie, when we think about building communities, we want to think about what really builds communities, which is tactility, which is face-to-face interaction, which is meaningful communication. None of that happens on social media. John Freeman, who is the former issue of Granta and has started a literary magazine called Freeman's, did a talk that I was at, and he talked about how when he started Freeman's, he went on his Facebook page, and he had a lot of friends, obviously, a very well-known guy, as the former editor of Granta, a famous British literary magazine. And he just went one by one and messaged every single one of his friends and said, hey, I'm going to be in this city next week with my new magazine. Come out, come support it, bring some friends. And so he did like a 30-city tour that way that was incredibly successful. He also talked about when he took over Granta and he wanted to do a Chicago issue based on Chicago writers and literary and arts figures. And he said that the first thing he did, obviously, not obviously, but the first thing that he did was really go to those people who were making the Chicago scene so interesting to him and telling him what the plan was, inviting them into the process, making real connections and real community. So you can use social media to advance your publishing agenda, just not in that sort of conventional way of how am I going to optimize this post or that post. When we publish, we generally publish because we love it, because we want to build communities, we want to strengthen our communities, we want to make real connections, we want to check in with people. We go to the people who love your magazine and see how they're doing. Go to your Facebook page and randomly message 15 people with, hey, I'm the editor of this magazine, how you doing? What do you want to see? Do you even know what our magazine is about? Do some of that stuff. Take a little time out of all our mass emailing and blasts and all the evil things that we do to justify our sad lives, and connect with people. Treat them to that moment of tactility, and you will get a lot of advantage from that. So beyond anything else, get out there into the world and actually do good things for the communities that you hope to represent. And that's way, way more important than all of this online powerhouse stuff. And that's another, way to completely skip pushing people up the ladder, is showing them face-to-face the amazing stuff you do. So keep that always in the top of mind. And I think that's all I've got for you. Thank you very much.